a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Matlock on CBS, Penelope on Netflix, Nobody Wants This on Netflix, and The Penguin on Max.
So stay tuned to the end to find out which Gotham villain BJ would want to be.
Ooh, there are not many good options, but I will think about it.
Okay, until then, why don't you tell us what happened with kind of an anti-hero?
You're talking about Matlock on CBS. In this reboot of the original Matlock TV series, Kathy Bates stars as Madeline Matlock, a brilliant attorney who rejoins the workforce at a prestigious law firm where she uses her cleverness tactics to win cases. So Mitu, you love a good law procedural, case of the week, probably even the original Matlock. What do you think of this reboot?
I thought Kathy Bates was so charming. She's such a good actor. And I like that they reference Matlock as a show that exists in this universe. She gets ahead of it and is like, I know the joke. I'm a septuagenarian attorney. Matlock is also the same, like the TV show, but I am not Matlock. And it felt like a moment where the show itself was telling us, this is not going to be Andy Griffith solving a case of the week, which is lovely. I am someone who loves a Matlock. But this show is telling us this is going to be a little darker, a little deeper, and there's more mystery afoot.
Which I appreciate. If you're going to reboot a beloved franchise, especially when it's not a continuation, but a twist on things, might as well make it different, fresh. And I think this version of Matlock, Maddie, is a very compelling character. She's got secrets. She's got the history and the skill. And we don't fully know what she's going to do, but we're confident that she can do it.
And because of her age, she's able to social engineer herself into a lot of situations. She shows them that she broke into their own law firm because people just thought she was this unassuming, old, confused woman, when in reality, she's the cleverest one in the room. And I think that'll make a really interesting dynamic between her and the senior partner, Julian, played by Jason Ritter, and then the junior partner, Olympia, played by Sky Marshall, whom Julian is divorcing. Or I think Olympia might be leaving Julian.
I didn't catch which person filed for the divorce, but there is a separation. It's a little awkward that they'll still be working with each other, especially because Julian's dad is also the owner of this firm. So there's going to be some interesting family dynamics as Olympia is trying to prove herself at the firm.
Yes, which is why I thought the case of the week this week was so good. First, we see how Maddie interacts with the two associates who are trying to prove themselves, Billy, played by David Del Rio, and Sarah, played by Leah Lewis. I think that'll be an interesting dynamic. And then in this case, it is Olympia's case, and she's in this weird place where she is obviously supported, question mark, by Julian and by her soon-to-be ex-father-in-law because of the best interest of the firm where she works. And also she feels siloed because she's divorcing with Julian and will no longer have a familial relationship with the father-in-law, even though he claims otherwise, at least for now. So this is a case where she's really proving herself. And it appears that she is the one who wanted to bring this case in because she saw the opportunity in this market, we'll call it. And they're not seeing that. And so she had to fight for the firm to even take this on, which makes it even more pressure on her shoulders. So it was cool to see the stakes for Olympia and how Maddie can help or hurt that.
True. And it was fun to see everyone's different interests. Like, Olympia needs this to work so she can have her new type of cases. Otherwise, we hear the threat is she has to go back to corporate litigation. She doesn't want that. And we see Maddie, not so subtly and multiple times, tells everyone, I want to do big pharma. After this, put me on those big pharma cases.
Y'all know the people that make Prozac? Put me on that case. Who makes Tylenol? Hook me up. Like, she's like, you do medicine? I'm interested.
So I like how clearly we can tell what's motivating everyone. And yet they still have to come together to solve this case.
With that, it was a very satisfying case to solve. And then toward the end of the episode, which I don't think is a spoiler, we have a big reveal that leads to even more possible reveals in the future. So CBS is very good at this. They're very good at the like Russian doll mystery within a mystery on a show like this, where there is this story that is now introduced in the last few minutes where there's more to Maddie than we thought, which is the case. She told us from the beginning, people underestimate me to their own detriment. And so I'm very curious about how that big mystery is going to play out.
And I appreciate that CBS didn't include cliffhangers. We get a full reveal of those mysteries at the end. And it adds more to Maddie's character, because in this, we learn about her interests, we learn her abilities, some of her flaws, and we get a hint at her motivation.
She's sneaky.
That's true. I wouldn't trust her.
No.
But will you keep watching more episodes of Matlock on CBS?
100%. I want more episodes of this show ASAP. It was so good, such a good procedural. If you like procedurals, I think you will like this one. And specifically, the longer mystery is what especially interested me.
I agree. I would watch again casually. I think that the case of the week is going to be really fun because I like everyone on Olympia's team. And this bigger story that they're hinting at is definitely going to keep me watching every week. So how about we go from the courtroom to the wilderness?
You're talking about Penelope on Netflix. Penelope, played by Megan Stott, is a 16-year-old girl who feels alienated from civilization and attempts to build a new life in the wild unknown.
What a dream to fully disconnect and just explore.
This show was a turducken of dreams because it is clear from minute one that this is a passion project. I was not surprised when I looked up the show and I saw that it was funded by the show creators, the Duplass brothers, and you feel that in this. It really feels like a creative endeavor. It almost feels dreamlike to watch. I believe you said it's fashioned after one of their dreams, both of their dreams about being in the wild. And you feel that. You really do. And you have to do a lot of feeling because there's not a lot of talking.
That shocked me, especially in the very beginning. We don't even hear Penelope say anything. All of the quote unquote dialogue is through reading text messages on a screen. So I thought, wow, this is going to be very artsy. We're just going to hear nature. And in the end, that really is mostly what happens. There's very little conversation.
The other fantastical element of it for me was that this 16-year-old seemingly sheltered young girl, or at least sheltered in the sense of lived in a place with four walls and now wants to live in a forest, young girl is able to transition to being in the wild. And she does it fairly seamlessly in this pilot episode.
You know, she sets it up for us. 1 minute you're at a silent dance party. The next minute you're at REI, and with a protein bar, a water bottle, and a backpack, you too can learn how to survive after watching a YouTube video.
One YouTube video, she's good to go. The thing about watching the YouTube video, being ready for the wild, having this, I guess, predisposition to want to be in the wild and to follow what she said was like a call of the wild, if you will, no pun intended, is that it does really capture that Eat, Pray, Love, wild movie and book energy, but for a YA audience. Because you do have in Eat, Pray, Love and in Wild, you have a woman who's over it and she strikes out on her own and goes on an adventure to find more of the world and herself. And we see that with this teenager as well. The thing that I think is missing from this first episode that I believe would have helped me, and perhaps they expect you to watch it like a Netflix show where you sit down and watch multiple episodes, is a bit of context. I don't think the call was strong enough on this show that I'd be like, okay, it makes sense that this wolf that she believes that she saw, this bunny, whatever, called her into the wilderness. I wish I had some context on what was driving her out. Because I think that is, for example, what captures you in like an Eat, Pray, Love is you understand why she wanted to just get out.
I agree. I think this story would have benefited from starting a little earlier. The only real hint we get is she almost sends a text to her mom asking if she was happy as a kid. So clearly she has some discontent, some confusion, some uncertainty, but it's not enough for us to understand why someone would be motivated to leave their family. She seemingly just walks away from her life and keeps walking on her own. And that's a big step, not even just for a teenager, just in general, to literally decide to walk away from everything. And I think we as the audience deserve to know a little bit more so then we can dive into this adventure with Penelope.
I agree, because it's intriguing to make that choice. And I will say that they asked a lot of this lead actor, and she does act beautifully in this. To not have much dialogue, but to have to keep our attention is a difficult thing to do. And I thought she was really, really impressive and interesting to follow. I just wish that they perhaps didn't rely on the decision itself to walk away. And to your point, give us a little bit more. And again, it could be because it's Netflix and they just expect that we knock this out in an afternoon. But you and I review the pilot episodes. And so in this pilot, I just wish I had a little more.
That's true. And you bring up a good point. The acting from the whole cast worked. I believed these characters. I just did not believe this journey would happen to a 16-year-old.
Which is why I kind of think it's a fantasy. I think maybe that's going to be a reveal.
They gotta reveal something eventually.
True. So do you want to stick around with Penelope on Netflix to see if they reveal anything more?
You know, I think this is a would watch while folding laundry. Have some nice nature scenes in the background. See where Penelope wanders off to. But, and I hate to say this, I don't feel that interested in Penelope's story. I just kind of want to see where she goes.
Yeah, it's a literally beautiful show. So it's literally beautiful to take in because of the nature, because of these sweeping shots of animals and nature. But I agree. The story to me is a little bit less interesting. For me, I think I'll give it another episode to see if we get some of that context that I feel is missing from the first episode. But if we don't, I'm not sure I'm going to keep watching. However, if you are someone who's searching for Eat, Pray, Love, but for teens, like a YA adventure story, I think you might like this.
So now we're going to go from the wilderness to a meet cute on Nobody Wants This on Netflix. We meet an agnostic sex podcaster played by Kristen Bell and a newly single rabbi played by Adam Brody as they fall in love. But can their relationship survive their wildly different lives and meddling families?
Ooh.
So me too, this is a rom-com. This is giving Hallmark vibes. What did you think?
It did feel like Hallmark, but people smoke weed and drink.
Yes, edgy Hallmark.
Yes, Lifetime.
Ooh, this would be appropriate on Lifetime?
Lifetime is much edgier than Hallmark, but I think this might even be too edgy for Lifetime. I'm not sure. Because Lifetime, I think, would have had the drugs and the drinking, but like as a cautionary tale. Like it would be the last thing that happens before Joanne, our podcasting lead, is like discovered somewhere, something bad happens. In this case, it's a lovely rom-com. And I think what really seals it, the obvious part, is the chemistry. There is such good chemistry between Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. I was not an OC girl. I did not watch that show. I remember people were just absolutely bananas for Adam Brody, but, you know, because I did not watch the show, it was not necessarily my ministry. I understand now. He is so charming.
And what's really impressive is we see Joanne and Noah meet. They have some cute little banter, some corny jokes, this charming interaction, and the dialogue itself, not that impressive. But the way they were able to pull me in and be like, oh, I like this tension, this push and pull between these two characters. I was shocked how much their chemistry drew me in.
There's a part where she's very surprised that he's a rabbi, and she tells him at the end of the night that they meet, say something rabbinical, and he goes, there's a fiddler on the roof. And that dialogue said out of my mouth, you're like, okay, whatever. What? The way they deliver it, I had the goofiest smile on my face. I was just like, there's a fiddler on the roof. Like, it was just so funny, so sweet. They're just electric. And then I really liked Joanne's family. I thought they were very funny. And then it seemed like toward the end of the episode when we get a hint of Noah's family that they're going to be a hoot as well.
Yes, I like that they have their separate lives. Sometimes on these rom-com sitcoms, it's hyper-focused on the couple and them together. Here we see Joanne podcasting with her sister, talking to her mother. We even see Noah with his previous relationship to get a little backstory of how that went. And then we see him with his ministry and family. And I think it's a good balance.
I agree. The only critique I have of this show is I wish it was like a 90-minute movie instead of a show to follow. But because this first episode was 24 minutes or something like that, I imagine it is short episodes in a series so that they expect you to watch it like a rom-com.
Yeah, it'll probably total like 2 90-minute movies.
Yes. And unlike Penelope, where I feel like you needed to watch a little bit more probably to understand the why, I do feel like I got the story in this first episode. I just mean like I would love to watch the whole thing in like 90 minutes as a movie, but I don't feel anything was missing. I didn't miss any context. I got all the charm, all the chemistry. I understand why they're attracted to each other. Not I understand, but I feel it.
No, I understand.
Me too. I understand why you would be attracted to Adam Brody. I understand now.
And Kristen Bell, that's a hot couple.
That's true. She's very charming on this. For me, because I did not grow up in OC world, I just feel like I'm catching up with like all the 12-year-olds that I was familiar with as a child that were like Adam Brody this and Adam Brody that. And now I get it. Now I'm saying Adam Brody this and Adam Brody that.
It's ringing true. And you're like, okay, now's my time to.
Yes.
Okay. So now that you're Adam Brody Hive, are you going to keep watching more episodes of Nobody Wants This on Netflix?
100%. The only reason I'm not watching it right now is because you and I are recording. It's the last show I watched this week that we're reviewing before getting on the mic with you. And I absolutely would have kept watching. I will watch again seriously. If you are Rom-Com Hive, if you are what I'm newly part of, as BJ said, Adam Brody Hive, you will enjoy this show.
Well, I apologize that I am delaying you from the next episode of this show.
I accept your apology.
I appreciate your forgiveness. You have such a big heart.
It's a generosity of spirit here at the Pilot Pod.
And I would rate this would watch again casually. You are now Adam Brody Hive. I've been Kristen Bell Hive for a while. And I think this is a great role for her. And I want to see how it plays out. It seems so sweet and innocent. And I'm curious if they're going to like twist this later on.
Ooh, true. And, you know, Kristen Bell, we do go way back with her. With Veronica Mars, and you and I both loved The Good Place.
I think her best work.
Yeah, really great show.
So how about we move on from a rom-com to something a little darker?
But still oddly funny.
And heartwarming.
And heartwarming, true. You're talking about Penguin on Max. This show follows the transformation of Oswald Cobblepot, played by Colin Farrell, into the noted Gotham gangster and Batman foe, the Penguin.
So me too. Neither of us watched the 2022 film, The Batman.
I kind of did.
You were in front of it.
Yeah.
Do you think our listeners need to watch that film to prepare for this show?
No. They did that really effective cliched thing, but cliche for a reason because it works, where they had a bunch of news segments playing, dropping you into the world. So this anchor here saying, this thing happened, this bomb went off in Gotham, basically catching us up on what happened in that Batman movie. And then what is happening in the crime world. This noted gangster has gone down. Now the Falcone family's open. And basically it sets us up for exactly where we find Mr. Penguin. Not yet Penguin.
Just Oz.
Just Oz.
And I think that was more than enough. I never had the question of, how did we get here? What happened before this? Where's Batman? Irrelevant.
No, I thought that was so well done. It wasn't more than 90 seconds or something. It was pretty quick. But, you know, my critique often on these shows, the ones that are based on comic books or existing IP, is that I'm confused. I feel like that's maybe the phrase I use most often on this show. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't get why this thing was happening or why this person was motivated to do whatever. In this, I understood completely. I was never confused.
And I think that works so well because this is a crime drama that happens to be in the world of Batman.
Yes.
Like, I think it's very separate from the superhero world, and it's really just kind of giving a nod like, oh, Oswald Cobb is also known as the Penguin. Or we also meet Sophia Falcone, played by Kristen Milioti, who's also the Hangman. So if you know that, it's cool, but you don't need that to enjoy this story.
Can we talk about the acting and specifically character actor Kristen Milioti? I feel like maybe her game is not discussed enough. When you see that lady walk onto your screen, you know she's about to melt into that character. And the way she plays Sophia, I was so unsettled. I just couldn't tell what she was going to do next. And so much was happening in her face. Like, she did not have to move. She didn't have to do all this wild stuff. Her eyes, her face alone, I was just on the edge of my seat for what this lady was going to do next.
Powerful. Her first scene, she walks in, she surprises Oz. And just like Oz, you see her and you're like, oh, I'm a little scared. She's here. I don't know anything about her character yet, but I know that this is bad news.
Because the theme of this show is families. He messed with her family. I don't want to give away too much. And she's aware of that. And so she's handling it for the sake of her family. We meet Oz's family in his mom. And then also in, I think, someone who will become like family to him in his mentee, Victor, played by Renzi Feliz.
Let's say throughout the episode, he levels up to mentee. At first, he's more of a kidnappee.
I don't know that he ever stops being a victim. I just think he starts being mentored as
he gets a bonus.
Yeah, it's like if someone kidnapped you, but then like started teaching you math problems. Like, I guess you're technically tutoring me, but I'm still a kidnapping victim. That's what's happening here.
You're right. Both are valid at the same time.
Two truths can coexist.
But I did like Vic. He's a fun character. He's sweet. He's not too innocent, but clearly doesn't know the world of crime in Gotham City.
And despite myself, I found myself laughing when they were hanging out because there are these moments that are played for humor between them. There's one particularly funny scene where they get into Oz's car and he boots it up and the CD that he had in there most recently starts playing and it's 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. And Vic looks away to not laugh because the last person who laughed at Oz, we understand what happened to him. But I still laugh because you could just see the pressure on Vic's face as he's like trying not to giggle because Oz does not comment on it. He tries to just take the CD out. He's like, nobody here was listening to Dolly Parton. Don't worry. You know?
Who put that in there?
Who did that? Who broke into my car and played this wonderful song? We have to do something about Gotham's crime.
And I think that's what makes Oz or the Penguin interesting is that, yes, he's dealing drugs. Yes, he hurts people, kidnaps people, but he seems like someone who has a heart, who wants to be liked, who is a people person. He seems like he's good at talking to people. So it's not your typical pure evil, crazy murderer.
He made me think of the Michael Keaton Batman movies, which I watched for the first time, I think, last year. And the Penguin in that one, played wonderfully by Danny DeVito, was like this, where he has done bad things, but he is clearly doing it for societal acceptance. In those movies, he is abandoned by his parents. and searching for family and validation. I think in this show, we know that Oz, at least he has a close relationship with his mom. It seems a bit complicated, but he seems to have a close relationship with his mom. But the core motivation is the same of they want to be loved.
Yeah, he cares about Gotham.
Yeah, in his own way.
Yeah, does he want to bring some drugs into the streets and maybe ruin people's lives? Yes, but it's part of the process.
It's just you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Exactly. And, you know, Sophia maybe wants to crack more eggs than the recipe calls for.
Yeah, she's sort of going for a frittata. She's doing a whole tray.
I will just say, we see a lunch scene with Sophia. Sophia, she's from the Falcone family. She's got drug money.
Yeah.
And she ate in that restaurant as if this was her last meal, as if she's never had a meal before.
Yes.
And it tells you a lot about how she's going to handle situations.
Because she was in Arkham, which I think changes how you behave, even if you come from money.
And she hints at some of the stories there, and it sounds bad.
Whew. Arkham, for non-Batman people, is the prison.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was the insane asylum. Arkham
yes,
Asylum.
Sorry. Just the place where they send people, like, I think the Joker went there, too.
Yeah, they lock you up. They, I think, kind of torture you. And only Sophia's brother visited her while she was there.
Mm-hmm. So imagine her motivation in this first episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we can say. I don't want to spoil it, but like, let's discussion circle about Penguin. Email us at askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com if you've seen this pilot episode. I need to talk about it further. It's so good.
With that, let us know what you think of this show, Me Too.
I'm stunned I'm saying this, but I would watch again casually. The only thing stopping me from watching again seriously is the violence. It is less violence than I thought, but there is still some gross stuff that happens, and that's what prevents me from being able to like marathon it, let's say. But I really want to know what happens next because I think you put it so perfectly. It is just like a really well done crime show starring my boyfriend Colin Farrell, but set in this universe of Batman. And so that just makes it to me so compelling.
Fully on board with you. Would watch again casually. I like the story. And that's really what's going to pull you in. I don't like seeing all the violence. I don't like seeing Oz's foot. So I'm going to say.
Oz needs a podiatrist so bad.
Use that drug money to get some surgery, Oz.
Yeah.
Take some time off. Get your foot fixed.
Get an x-ray. Let's really look into this.
You don't even need an x-ray. We know what's
That's
happening.
True. We can see it on the outside. That's true. That's true.
But I also like the Oz, Vic, Francis, the kind of Cobb family dynamic and want to see more of that.
Agreed. And I'm scared too, but I want to see more of Sophia. But I'm scared, but I want to see more.
That's how she gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to know which DC villain I would want to be?
Yes.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger Iceman.
I was just thinking that.
I can like freeze things, not people, just freeze things.
Yeah.
For fun.
And that seemed fun.
Yeah. And he had a costume. He was like glowing. I think he couldn't get out of that suit, but you're not going to do that to me. You're just giving me the ice powers.
Yeah, you're not stuck in the suit.
Thank you.
Of course.
If you want to hear more of Me Too's graciousness or forgiveness or willing to help others, you can hear that in episodes of our podcast at thepilotpodcast.com. And you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at thepilotpod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, and truly your penguin theories to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.